So if we'll let participants in. Hey.
Audio settings button menu.
Okay. So it's 11 o'clock here in Houston. So welcome to our Zoom workshop for HAVIN, Read More Braille. We're glad you're here, and we hope some of your friends are going to be joining with us here as well. I'm Ron Graham. I'm the president of HAVIN, and we appreciate you coming out today to take part in our workshop, and we look forward to encouraging the use, the learning of Braille and the use of Braille in your everyday life. And I want to say a heartfelt thank you to our presenters. It was originally going to be just Michael Garrett and Bobby Lakey, but as we've evolved, Dina Abramson shared information that was going to be a great addition to this. So we have a presentation featuring the three of them today, and I greatly appreciate them for sharing their time, knowledge, and insights with us. And I'm going to turn this over to Stacy to share some Zoom logistics with you, and after that we will begin our workshop.
Okay, good morning everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. So just a couple of Zoom logistics. We ask that you remain muted until we open the floor for questions. And the way we're going to do questions is you'll raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. And then you can ask your question, and then we ask that you go back on mute. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, so we want to minimize or not have any additional background noise, so other people that aren't with us today might be able to hear a clear recording. So without further ado, actually to unmute yourself, if you're on a telephone, it's *6. If you're on a Windows computer, it is Alt-A. And if you're on a Mac computer, it's Command-Shift-A. Okay. To raise your hand on a phone is *9. On a computer, I believe, on a Windows computer rather, I believe it's Alt-Y. And on a Mac, it is Command-Shift-Y. Option-Y, excuse me. Option-Y. So now I will turn the virtual floor over to you, Ron.
All right. And without further ado, I'm going to let a good friend of mine, Mr. Michael Garrett, begin. And thank you again for being here today, Michael. And we look forward to hearing what you have to share. All right. And the crowd says, yay. Thank you, Michael.
Well, thank you, Ron. Good morning. And good morning to everybody, and welcome everybody to this Braille workshop. And I had to keep that in mind because that's what we want it to be. Is a workshop. And joining me today, as Ron has already mentioned, our panel of presenters today. And I'm glad I'm not going to try to do this all by myself, but we have some very capable people. And I know that even within our audience, there are some other well-informed people about Braille. So that gives me confidence to know that I don't have to do this whole thing alone. But joining me this morning on our panel are, and Ron mentioned, Bobby Lakey, who is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Crystal Vision, and Ms. Dina Abramson from our Texas Talking Book program. So I want to thank both of you for joining me this morning as we try to move forward in this workshop. Now, this is really the catalyst for this workshop is really Karen Itel, who is also a promoter of Braille, and that is primarily our purpose this morning, is to promote and encourage the use of, well, the learning and the use of Braille. It is an important aspect in the lives, we believe, of blind and visually impaired individuals. So what we want to do today is, since it's a workshop, I want to do some really Braille basics, and we'll move from a little history to evolution to what the Braille code is, moving to some uses of Braille, the importance, and moving on to technology, products, and some resources. And we'll open it up for questions. I'm sure you'll have some questions. So we'll open it up and let everybody, we'll just treat it like a real workshop. So the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about a little history of Braille. And most people know that the Braille code that we use, that we use today, was developed by Louis Braille, who was ultimately was a French teacher, and he invented the code that we use today. But Braille over the years has evolved over time. People tried to improve upon it or use different tactile systems. The one that comes to mind, I think, that people really tried to push was something called New York Point Braille, and it evolved around the 1920s when Braille usage was really being promoted, and there were several systems that people tried to put in place, but we always come back to our original system that was developed by Louis Braille. Braille is not a language, it's a code. So it's not something that has to be interpreted. It's a code. It is a raised dot system in a 3x2 pattern. The whole alphabet consists of a combination of these raised dots. Within this 6-cell system, three dots going vertical, 2 dots horizontal. The whole Braille alphabet, depending on the raised dots, is encompassed in this system. In the code, we have 3 grades. Grade 1, which consists of each letter of the Braille alphabet plus punctuation. Grade 2 Braille consists of the alphabet plus contractions, where groups of letters are compacted to shorten the whole system. And then there's grade 3, which really is a compressed system. It compresses words even more. It's commonly known as a shorthand version of Braille. You probably won't see any published information using grade 3 because it really compacts everything. So we come back to the most commonly used system is our Braille grade 2. Now, there is something called UEB, or the Unified English Braille Code, which is a difference since, I guess it was adopted in 2015, which is a difference from the American Braille Code. But the Unified English Braille Code is it's a standardization of the Braille Code itself. It's now commonly used in over 130 countries. We used the English speaking countries, primarily United States, UK, Canada, and Australia, where we were sort of kind of trying to put things together, but with BANA, the Braille Authority of North America, started to push for the unification of this whole system. And so now Braille can be used, Braille books can be transferred, Braille, all types of Braille communications can be used in all of these different countries. We can share those books, reading books and communications from different countries, where in the past things had to be translated from one language to another. But now we have a unified code that standardizes symbolism, some things that are mass produced. All of those things are under this UEB, and it changed our English, the American English Braille system a little bit. They got rid of some of the contractions, but they added some other things that allow for mass production. And so that's been a primary positives for those who need to use a lot of Braille, and of course we really promote that. So that brings me to why is Braille important? So we've seen by the development, we've seen by the standardization of Braille, is that it gives us access to the printed word. It makes us literate so that we can communicate and be a part of the world itself, the world at large. And here's where I want my panelists to start jumping in and helping me out here, especially as we talk about students and adults using Braille, and the kinds of uses there are for Braille. Because I know Bobby has been a long time user of Braille. Isn't that right, Bobby? Oh, is it muted? Are you there, Bobby? Oh,
Looks like he's having trouble unmuting.
he's having trouble unmuting. Okay. Well, what I wanted to mention here too are some of the uses of Braille, and these are common everyday things that we use Braille for, that keep us sort of in the loop of life itself. You know, Braille can be used in everyday living for things such as phone numbers, labels, music. And I'll stop there and say, when I was a student in school, I learned my piano lessons were, I learned to read Braille music as I transitioned because my finger dexterity wasn't
Alta.
that good. So I decided to focus on the trumpet. So I still was able to use Braille music to learn my parts and to continue my trumpet career. Even and then there are things such as hymnals. When I was ordained, one of my most precious gifts was the Braille
Security
Baptist
button
hymnal.
menu. Closed. Open participant. Video settings button menu. Stop my video. Alt V button.
So are we having a technical?
Bobby is unmuted now.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
there he is.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we are. There we are.
Okay. Sorry, Michael. Didn't mean to panic you there for a second, but I'm here whenever you want to ask me another question.
What? No, I was just wanted you to jump in and you too, Dina, jump in and talk about some of the uses of Braille, some of the common everyday uses that I mean, there are things that we don't know all the things we can do until situations arise.
Well, I've been around Braille. I lost my vision at the age of 7 in a firearms accident, and I immediately in the 2nd grade started learning Braille. And so for personal use, it's been a great assistance for me, both for being able to compete with my peers in the K through 12 environment, being able to go to college and actually major get a business degree that was very heavy in math, as far as everything from calculus to accounting to finance, etc. And I was able to do that because of Braille. Professionally, I have my first job that I got paid for that was outside of doing things around my hometown or whatever was I taught the Braille Note Touch, or the precursor to it, back in 1987 at the School for the Blind. And so been able to use a Braille device and going back to then, I was able to later on become a VR teacher with what used to be called the Texas Commission for the Blind, and then a counselor, and then a employment assistance specialist. But as a VR teacher, I saw a lot of adults that were losing their vision, and in basic terminology, they were losing their literacy as well, because they could no longer read print if they lost a large amount of their vision. So I was teaching Braille, and they were learning to read, and that gave them the ability to read books, gave them the ability to manage an elevator independently, to find hotel rooms, to label items, everything from their pantry to back then their cassettes or their CD collection, right? And so it's just a way to flat out be literate. And as a vocational rehabilitation counselor, basically I continually observed that people who knew Braille and was able to read Braille, who went to work in various work settings, whether it be a call center or any of the other huge list of possibilities for those of us that are blind or visually impaired, it seemed like to me that the ones that could use a Braille display in a call center environment, especially, to where they could listen to the customer, pay attention to the customer, but be able to read with their fingers like their sighted peers could read on the screen, those people were able to get promotions and advance, etc. And if the stats are still what they are, I lived on back then the fact that 70% of people who are blind or visually impaired are unemployed. But if you flip that around and you look at the people who can read Braille, the stats used to be that 9 out of 100 legally to totally blind people could read Braille. And out of those 9 people that could read Braille, 7 of them were employed. So if we just round that 9 off to even 10, then basically, and I know statistics can be skewed to make any kind of a point almost, but at its basic level, 7 out of 10 people that are legally to totally blind are unemployed. 7 out of 10 Braille readers are employed. To me, shows a direct correlation to the whole literacy capability, et cetera. So I think Braille is, hugely important, whether you're using it in paper form or in Braille display form, or you're getting it through paper form through an embosser or what have you. I think those are some key aspects to, what makes Braille absolutely relevant. I've heard people say, well, should we quit teaching Braille because of, things talking these days? And my answer to that always is, well, should we quit teaching print to sighted kids or sighted people because of talking things these days? And the obvious answer to me in both of those scenarios is no. So I'll turn it back over to you. And
Well, I definitely agree with your statistics, and of course we both, by using Braille in our employment, I believe that has led to successful employment. I put that in my notes, and you were reading my notes there, Bobby.
that's because they're in Braille.
Right, exactly. But it has been noted, and Bobby quoted the statistics that by and large, the more successful employment of people who are blind and visually impaired, of those, most of those people read some form of Braille and implement that usage in their employment. So it's very key. I was an investment analyst for 28 years, and there's no way in the world I could have gone to meetings and given presentations without having some Braille notes. No, I didn't copy everything verbatim, but I used my notes to successfully present my case to my portfolio managers, and that made a difference. I remember back when I was in college, I took a business speech class, and they always talk about keeping eye contact. So when it came time for my presentation, I took my Braille notes up there. I read my Braille notes, and I looked at the people, and looked at this side of the classroom, and looked at the other side of the classroom, and just as though I was speaking to them personally. And boy, they were just, oh, how did you manage that? You gave us eye contact, you paused and did, yeah. And I picked up my Braille sheet of paper and said, I use my Braille notes. so Braille comes in handy. It really comes in handy. We are also experiencing in this day and time a lot of people who are experiencing sight loss at an older age. And here's something I want you to think about. If you lose your vision later in life, and let's say you were an avid reader, or you had to depend on looking at things even for employment or for pleasure, or just in the course of everyday living, think about all you miss out on without vision. And Braille can put you back in touch with a lot of the things, if not all of the things, that you would lose contact with. So we just believe that Braille is that form of literacy that will keep you active, keep you motivated. How about all the ladies who were good cooks? Well, even some of us who try to cook, but cookbooks, recipes. Those things are very important. How about playing cards and games such as Scrabble and all those kinds of things. You can even get your bank statements in Braille if you have a bank that is willing to work with you and make things accessible for you. Contracts, insurance policies. And here's one of the things that's exciting to me, because I love geography to a degree. That's kind of one of those things nobody would ever think that ask a question. What is this? Nobody would ever know about you. I like maps, and now there are tactile maps of the U.S. and of other countries that are available that we can look at it. And I'm always amazed at people who can talk about directions and give you north, south, east, west directions and understanding. Some people have actually looked at the tactile maps and are able to tell you where to go. Business cards, Christmas cards, puzzles, all kinds of things are being produced so that we can have access to life itself. So then, but as we have evolved, and Bobby mentioned some of the things that are out there and that are available, but I want Bobby and Dina to talk about some of the new technology that even gives us more communications accessibility to Braille. So y'all talk about some of the products out there that are helping us, that are available, and what they can do for us.
All right. Well, I guess I'll step in here. As in my role as the sales manager for Crystal Vision, we have the opportunity to represent a lot of manufacturers of technology, Braille technology, and beyond. And probably the two major areas. We don't sell Perkins Braille writers, et cetera, but that's still that's still a valid, viable option is to have a Perkins Braille writer. Even for some people, they'll still use a slate and stylus, the stuff that we used in the 70s and 80s and beyond. But we've come a long ways in the world of electronic Braille, and the three products that I see people having the most interest in it would be 2 of our Braille displays and 1 of our note takers. And in those Braille displays, the first one, and it's the one that's sitting in front of me here now, is the Focus line of Braille displays from Freedom Scientific, which is under the umbrella company Vispero nowadays. And it's a Focus 40 blue. They also have a Focus 14 blue. And it is if you're using a PC, if you're using JAWS or another screen reader, or if you're using a Mac, I mean, it is especially with JAWS, because JAWS and the Focus 40 Blue both come from Freedom Scientific. With a USB cable, it's basically plug and play, and it's pretty easy to set up via Bluetooth. Some characteristics about the Focus line of Braille displays are that they are incredibly durable. They're made out of aircraft aluminum, and the industry standard for drop tests on a Braille display is 2 feet. Well, most of us that are carrying around a Braille display, if we drop it, we're going to drop it further than 2 feet. The average table is more than 2 feet tall. So if it falls off a table, gets bumped and knocked off of a table, that's more than 2 feet. And the Focus 40 Blue is drop tested at 4 feet. And I know back before I went to work for Crystal Vision, I used to work for Freedom Scientific, and they, I had a Braille display, and I traveled all over the place, and I would either take my Braille display and bang it on the table, or I'd knock it off the table and let it fall on the floor and then pick it up and it would be fine, et cetera. And I did that 31 times and picked it up every time, and it was, solid as a rock. It was good. The 32nd time I was up in Arkansas in front of all all the technology specialists for the Arkansas Rehabilitation Division. And I was talking about this Focus Braille display, and I flipped it off the table, and it went flipping through the air and landed on the floor, bounced around a little bit. I picked it up with all the confidence that I'd had from 31 times of doing something so crazy and possibly reckless, and handed it back to the director there. And I said, and as you'll see, it's still fine and fully functional. And there was a brief pause, and she said, no, actually half of the Braille display is dead. And what I didn't take into consideration was that I flipped that one off onto a tile floor. And so it's not indestructible, but very solid. Another thing that you get through Freedom Scientific Braille is that they, back about 12, 14 years ago or so now, I believe, they kind of invented a new type of Braille that we'll refer to as electronic Braille or paper fill Braille. And it functions similarly to mechanical Braille. It's in most Braille displays. But instead of having little micro motors that push the dots up and down, it works with little paddles, basically, that push up and down, etc. And it creates a variable firmness and a different type of Braille. So when you're reading it, you can, I believe, read it for maybe a longer period of time, etc. So it's that's a big thing about the Focus 40 Blue is the paper fill or electronic Braille. It has good keyboard. It's Bluetooth. You can connect, which you can with about everything these days, but you can connect one device to it via USB cable or 5 Bluetooth devices. So you could have your phone, your iPad, and a PC or Mac connected to it at the same time. And it is it's still a solid Braille display. Now it does have some, in Braille displays, they can be either strictly a dummy terminal, basically, meaning that they are an unintelligent work terminal where they have no internal capabilities. There are no standalone capabilities. But the Focus 40 Blue does have some internal capabilities in that you can take notes in it. It has something in it that they call a scratch pad. You can, with a little work, export that out to WordPad on a PC. I'm not sure about Mac, but you can export that information out of there in a very basic TXT document or etc. But you can store information. You can use it to read BRF files, so you can download books from Bookshare or other places and be able to read books on it, etc. So that's a viable, still a very functional, very viable Braille display. High quality. I see very few difficulties with their functionality or the reliability, etc. As things go, though, with assistive technology, and thankfully there is competition, in this field or whatever. For a while, if you go back through Humanware, through their Braille display called a Brilliant, they created a Brilliant display back in 2011, and it was around and used widely for a long time. And then the Focus 40 Blue came out and kind of leapfrogged it a little bit with the internal intelligence, etc. And so the Focus 40 Blue became the most capable functional Braille display out there. But then, as of about 12 to 18 months ago, Humanware released a new version of their Brilliant Braille displays called the Brilliant BI either 20 or 40X, and it is basically you can basically think of it as it's almost like a note taker from the 90s. It is a Braille display that has a word processor, basically a full word processor, or virtually a full word processor. You can read electronic books with it. Has a file manager. It's kind of like, if you're familiar with the Braille notes, etc., it's kind of like a scaled down version of that. And it is actually a talking Braille display now. And it does have all the latest and greatest in regards to it will connect directly to your Wi-Fi in your home or your hotspot on your phone. You can upgrade the firmware directly from there. It does have the same, or the latest version, I guess, of the Bluetooth capability of being able to connect 5 Bluetooth devices and 1 USB and that both of these, the Focus and the Brilliant, both have USB-C ports, so it makes it a little easier to connect. But it's just really nice with this product. Where it falls short of it being a full-blown note taker is, is it lacks email capability and that type of thing. But what I'll say out of these two Braille displays is if you're going to be using a PC and using a screen reader, especially again JAWS, because Focus and JAWS come from Freedom Scientific, I think that you have a great solution in a JAWS Focus 40 Blue combination. They pair very well. They're designed to work well together, and they maintain that at Freedom Scientific. You can also use a Brilliant with a PC or a Mac, but if you're going to be using a Braille display with your smart device, whether it be a iPhone or a Android phone or an iPad, etc., I think the Brilliant is probably a stronger match to it, just in my opinion, because in addition to being able to control your smart device, your iPhone or what have you, you have the word processor, you have the ability to have your documents and do things that can be a little limited on an iOS device sometimes for those of us that are using those devices. So it really kind of supplements the phone, works well with it, and we're generally carrying around our phone. And then you also have a speaking, a talking Braille display with word processing and file management capabilities that you can move stuff back and forth. And you can download BRF files, which are Braille formatted files for books, etc. So it has a lot of features and capabilities. They all also have, through a partnership with American Printing House for the Blind, excuse me, HumanWare has worked with APH to create a product called the Mantis. And the Mantis is a 40-cell Braille display, but it has a QWERTY keyboard. So if you're a person who says, I really like to read Braille, I'm very much a Braille user, but if given the choice, I'd rather type on a QWERTY keyboard than on a Braille input keyboard, then you can go with a Mantis. It does not speak, lacks some of the capabilities of the Brilliant BIX or BI40X, but it's still a solid piece of technology with a QWERTY keyboard. All right, so those are kind of three note takers, and that Mantis will connect to a phone or to a PC or what have you. So it's not lacking in a lot of those connectivity and ways that it can be useful. The stepping out, going just beyond that, is that we sell quite a few of, is the Braille Note Touch Plus, also from HumanWare, and it is a full-fledged note taker, and it is really a full-fledged Android tablet with the Keysoft suite of applications and speech added to it. So it is not the simplistic, just basic note taker that came out in the in the 90s, or it's not the basic capabilities that you would find in the Brilliant BI20 or 40X. It is a full-fledged note taker, and where I see it as being of a huge advantage is in its ability in the K through 12 environment. You can take, not only does it have email and electronic book capabilities and all that, but it has some really advanced capabilities with math to kind of keep it simple. You can go into the Braille Note Touch, do advanced math with all your formulas and equations. You can do it in key math on there. It's not for a person who's technologically challenged, but neither is calculus or algebra 2 or whatever it might be. So for your older students, they can go right in, do all of this math right in their note taker, have it right at their fingertips to be able to read Braille, be able to transfer that out of key math right into keyword, which is the word processor, and then be able to email that directly to their teacher. They also have some great attention paid to being able to access the in schools now. They have something called a LMS, or learning management systems, and it can be Canvas or Blackboard or whatever it might be. And especially with Canvas and all the Google platform and everything. The Braille Note Touch Plus is, is certainly a product that is a tool. Like all of this stuff is a tool. Whether it's everything from your basic handheld video magnifier all the way through to a Braille Note Touch on the range of vision loss. They're all basically just tools that hopefully allow you to perform a certain task. But it is certainly a task that that I'd recommend in that K through 12 environment, or anybody who has been a Braille Note user or Braille Note Touch user, for years or decades. Beyond the electronic stuff, we also represent, I'm thinking probably every Braille embosser manufacturer out there. And Braille embosser is basically what you would think of, maybe some people incorrectly call it a Braille printer, but it's a Braille embosser. It's a high production machine that will produce Braille in large quantities, and they go everywhere from around probably $1,800 all the way up to $18,000. And in that range, they can either produce produce Braille at a moderate speed, all the way up to very high production, several hundred characters per minute type production. You can have Braille embossers now that will print on the 8.5 by 11 inch sheets, 11 and 11.5 inch sheets. You can have them do the maps and the graphics that Michael was talking about, to where they can do Braille on one side or both sides of the page. The Braille can be used to draw pictures or maps. Tactile graphics is what that's called. You can have that to where it's tactile graphics that also has ink involved, so that there can be colors involved, for anyone who might still have a little bit of color vision but is a Braille reader or could benefit tactually from that. There are Braille embossers that will produce a Braille page and will put above each Braille letter or whatever, it'll also put print. So it can be a Braille embosser / printer. So that in an education environment or production situation where the student may be using Braille, but the teacher wants to see in print what it is, there are systems out there that will perform that. So that's basically, and in those note takers, they'll range anywhere from, we'll say $1,500 to $6,000 is kind of the range on the smallest Braille displays, all the way up to the Braille Note Touch Plus is $6,000. So it's not pocket change for any of us, but those are what I see as being the quality products in the industry right now. Products that work well, products that are innovative, products that when you have trouble with them, because you will eventually with any piece of technology that I've ever been around, at least, you have good companies in regards to Freedom Scientific and Humanware that will repair and support you in those, etc. So I guess that's about it as far as sharing that information with you, and probably sounding a little bit like a sales guy that I am. But if I can help you in any way, please feel free. I'm going to be in Houston for the NFB of Texas conference. I guess that'll be next weekend. And I am looking at my schedule of staying over after the conference and being in the Houston area, Monday, Tuesday. I mean, I have a hotel all the way till Thursday, but if I don't get enough appointments booked, I'll leave early. But if there's anybody that's attending this meeting that would like to have some hands-on, like to see some demonstrations, I would ask that it be a little more than just a curiosity. Maybe let this call kind of feed your curiosity. But if you really think that you are in the market for a display, etc., then please let me know, and I'll be happy to stay extra nights in a hotel and stay down in Houston and come out and see you and do the best I can to support you. And thank you for letting me share my products with you today.
Well, thank you, Bobby. I have a question for you. I'll come back to it in a minute. But I think that Dina has some good news for us. So I want to have her talk about another product that's coming out.
Absolutely. Yes. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dina Abramson. I am the Disability Information and Referral Coordinator for the Talking Book Program. And let me get into my notes here. I think a lot of you know about the Talking Book Program, but just in case, let me go over a few points. We are a regional library of the National Library Service. We have books and magazines in alternative formats, large print, Braille, and digital audio. We also have a download and mobile device app called BARD, B-A-R-D. We provide a digital talking book machine, and soon we will be providing a refreshable Braille display or Braille e-reader, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So eligibility for the Talking Book Program is a qualifying visual, physical, or reading disability. It can be temporary or permanent. Basically, anybody who cannot read standard print or physically hold a book is eligible for our service. A brief application is required with certification. Certification can be by a doctor, a nurse, a low vision specialist, a VI teacher, an activity director at an assisted living or nursing facility, a librarian, or even a member of the clergy can certify our application. Thanks to the Marrakesh Treaty, we also now have more books in languages other than English. So, and there's two parts to the Talking Book Program. There is the Books and Magazine Program, and then there's the Disability Information and Referral Center, which is what I manage. The important thing to remember about the DIRC is that you do not have to be a member of the Talking Book Program in order to receive service from the Reference Center. Anybody in Texas who needs disability or health-related information can talk to me. And the way that you reach me is through the Talking Book Program. And I will send our contact information to Ron, and he can include that in the follow-up email, so that if you are not a patron and are interested in becoming a patron, you can call us or email us or visit our website. Our website is www.texastalkingbooks.org. So let me get into the information about the Braille e-readers. The National Library Service is providing refreshable Braille displays to the patrons of the Talking Book programs around the country. Some states have already received their Braille e-readers. Texas has not received our Braille e-readers yet. When will we get them? We don't know. We are still waiting for word from the National Library Service. So unfortunately, I can't give you a date for when we are going to get them, but we do have a waiting list for people who are interested in getting an e-reader. We believe that everyone on the waiting list will get one when they first come out. I don't think it's going to be where they tell us, oh, well, we're only sending you 50 right now, you know, or some number. I think that everybody on the waiting list will get one right when they first come out. I am the one who maintains the waiting list, but if you are a patron and you are not on the waiting list, you don't necessarily have to talk to me. You can just call or email the call center and say, you know, I'm a patron and I want to get on the Braille e-reader waiting list, and I will add you to the list. Now, there are two Braille e-readers that NLS is distributing. One is by ZoomX and one is by HumanWare. We don't know yet which one we will get, and we don't have a choice of which one we get. But the two e-readers are very similar. They look a little bit different, but they both do the same things. So it's not where one does some things that the other one doesn't. They both do the same. They perform the same functions. These two e-readers are not available commercially, although the HumanWare one is sold by APH with slightly different features, and it's called the Chameleon, just for people who want to have that information. So the e-readers both have slots for an SD card. They have 32 gigs of memory. They both have a USB drive. And there are two ways that you can use these Braille e-readers. You can use Wi-Fi to connect to our BARD service to download books. Or if you don't have Wi-Fi, we can send Braille books on a digital cartridge, and you can connect the cartridge to the device. You can also connect to an iPhone by Bluetooth. You cannot connect to an Android phone yet. You can read Kindle books, text and email messages by connecting to your phone. You can also draft a document in Word using your phone. You can download any Braille file from BARD, and you can also read PDF, TXT, HTML, and DOCX files. Now, tech support will be available from us, from the Talking Book program, and also from the National Library Service. And there is a listserv for each e-reader for patrons if they would like to subscribe to the listserv. So that's kind of an overview of the e-readers. One question I'm asked is, if you are a patron, do you have to choose between having a digital talking book machine or having the Braille e-reader when they come out? And the answer is no, you don't have to choose. You will be able to get a talking book machine and a Braille e-reader if you want both. Now, some people don't borrow a digital talking book machine because they are BARD only. They only download from BARD, so you don't have to have a digital talking book machine. And both of these devices are on loan for as long as you are on the program. You only have to check out one book or magazine a year in order to remain eligible for the Talking Book program. Now, a few other things that Ron had mentioned in an email that he sent yesterday. We had talked a little bit about UEB. We have a fact sheet from NLS for anyone who needs information about UEB. This is a 4-page Braille document. You do not have to be a patron of the Talking Book program in order to get one of these UEB fact sheets, and it is yours to keep. So if you would like a UEB fact sheet, just call or email the Talking Book program and we can send one to you. There was also a question about Braille music, and the National Library Service does have a music section that circulates materials to patrons. And so if anybody is interested in music, I can send out that information. The music materials are circulated through the National Library Service, not through the regional libraries. So I can give you their phone number and email for anybody who wants that information. And then going back to some ideas, other ideas of how Braille is used. And these are 2 things that we provide at the Talking Book program. We provide Braille calendars for free to our patrons. You can order up to 3 calendars. We actually partner with the American Action Fund to provide those calendars. If you are not a patron and you want a Braille calendar or a large print calendar, I can refer you to those sources. We can also provide Braille alphabet cards to anybody who's learning Braille. And then just some other things that I provide information on through the Reference Center. We had mentioned games that are in Braille, labeling. These are things that we don't provide, but there are catalogs where you can purchase games and labeling things. Also, the Office for Older Blind Individuals or vocational rehabilitation might help to pay for some of these items. Also, a lot of instructions come in Braille, such as the instructions that come with the Braille e-reader. They are in Braille. And then a lot of people make lists with Braille. In fact, I have a patron who calls me every week. She is an avid Christmas movie watcher. And every Monday she calls me and asks me for the Christmas movies that are going to be on the Hallmark Channel and the GAC channel and Up TV. And so I will give her the titles, and in the background, I will hear her typing on a Braille writer and making lists of the Christmas movies. So that's the information that I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions during the Q&A. And I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. We have something to look forward to, and I'm glad that we can have the e-reader and keep our talking book machine. So don't take my talking book machine.
No. Nobody's going to take your talking book machine.
Oh,
as long as you stay active on the service. So.
Oh yes, no, well, I definitely do that. I do that. So, but thank you very much. I'm sure we'll have some there'll be some questions. And see, as I mentioned when we were talking about uses, you came up with another use. I mean, it all depends on the individual where Braille comes in handy. So the lady who makes lists, I mean, just things that keep us going on an everyday basis. That's why we believe Braille is so important. So that is just that's marvelous. We were talking about labeling earlier too. I was asked to help some folks put some labels on some washers and dryers, and so I put together the labels, and we just applied those a couple of weeks ago. I got to check with them and see if the labels are still there, still working. But but all these different projects, all these different things that come up where Braille comes in handy. So that's very important. Now, one of the things about these technological machines, one aspect, and that's where I want to go back to Bobby. Bobby, talk about the storage capability of some of these machines, because can you put files and store information just like I can do on my desktop computer or laptop computer? Now, Bobby has to get unmuted again.
Yeah, Bobby, you're on mute.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
There you are. There
Okay.
you are.
Yeah, with any of these machines, basically storage has become a non-factor. They'll either have internal storage or they'll have an SD card that will store up to 32 gigs, which is if I remember my math right at the moment, it's 32,000 million letters. Okay, so 32,000 times a million. So essentially, when you have a storage card that if you're not storing, long 2 or 3 hour movies and all kinds of music and all that kind of stuff, when you're talking about just text, you basically can think of most of these devices as unlimited storage capability. You could almost store, you probably, if you went to a really small town and they had a small library, you could probably have every book in their library on one little SD card that's the size of your fingernail. So it's storage is kind of a non-factor. And I'll just kind of toss out too, if there's any whisperings or if there's any influence on Dina for you guys on where you get your Braille displays, I hope you'll certainly push towards the HumanWare side. They've been making Braille displays for forever, and to my knowledge, ZoomX has not. And so if there's any way y'all can put in requests or help the people of Texas get the displays from HumanWare, that would be a big plus.
Unfortunately, not that I know of, because that question has come up that, can we have any say in which one we get? And apparently we just get whichever one we get.
Right. Okay.
But they are very similar. I
What-
mean, they do the same things. So, yeah.
What's the phrase we use? Get what you get and don't throw a fit.
I like that.
Sometimes if you don't have a choice, you just have to go with it, I suppose.
Well, that's awesome though. And it sounds like no matter which product it is, you'll get your money's worth because it's free.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
true.
Yeah.
Also, now,
We do have a hand raised for question. I don't want to do the individual poor justice by mispronouncing their name. So are we at a point where we can take questions?
well, I have one more thing I wanted to say, and
Okay.
then we'll open it up for questions. Because in the information that Ron sent us, there was also something related to teaching Braille and working with students, and I wanted to throw this in that and we'll talk about some resources as we go through here too. But a primary, a definite primary resource for Braille in Texas begins with the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And those of us who are alumni of the school can attest to the fact that it is a great repository for Braille teaching, learning, production, the whole 9 yards. But I wanted to also mention that only a small number of students actually reside there, but we estimate that there are over 11,000 students in Texas who are blind and visually impaired, and those are the ones we can identify. And so we want to make Braille available to those students. In fact, when HB 2277 was passed in 1991, we didn't know what the exact number was, but we knew that there were students all over Texas who needed access to Braille in these public school classrooms. And so HB 2277, and there was a companion bill in the Senate that was also passed that essentially says that students who are blind and visually impaired should have access to all the tools that they need for proper education, and that includes Braille. So with many gyrations and back and forths, I looked at the history of that bill, and it finally passed and was signed in June of 1991. There was a duplicate bill signed in 1993, but our students have have or should have access to Braille and all of the things that will ensure that they have a proper education. And so through TSBVI, through the Texas Education Agency, they're all aware of the needs and the tools that our students in Texas should have available to them. So I just wanted to put that out there and make sure that you know that our students should be competitive with their sighted peers in the education arena. And having served on the board at TSBVI, I can tell you that they do an absolutely marvelous job in teaching our students. So now we can open up for questions. I'm sure there are some questions for Bobby and Dina.
Okay, so Neva Fairchild's hand is up. Go ahead,
Oh,
Neva.
and another expert.
Gosh, I didn't think I'd be first. I thought there was somebody ahead of me, but I have a couple of questions. One is, Bobby, could you give us the price retail of the Brilliant BI 20 and 40X?
Well, Neva, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this time I thought I'd ask before I talk for a minute and have to repeat myself. All right. Over the last 6-8 months, as we've experienced, there's all kinds of price changes. So I'm going to have to talk in ballparks because
Sure.
a lot of the manufacturers have come out, instead of raising the price from $21.95 to $22.95, they said we're going to increase prices by 6%. So now there's things, on over 100 products that we have, there's things now that are $1,857.25, right?
Yeah, I got you. So ballpark is fine.
You're looking at on the Brilliant BI 20X, you're looking in the low twos, 2,300 in that price range, and in the maybe 24, but about 23, I think. And then in the Brilliant BI 40X, you're up and around the 3,700 range.
Okay.
And it's recently gone up both from a price increase in the industry, as well as the fact that now it talks and does all that good stuff as well.
Right. And then I have another question for Dina, if I can be so bold, is will the Braille readers have the capability of playing audiobooks, so I could take my Braille books and my audiobooks with me where I go?
Not as far as I know.
Darn.
I know. As far as I know, it's only Braille.
Okay, fair enough. I got to get myself on that waiting list. I'm dying for them to come to Texas.
You don't need to call or email. I will make a note and I will add you to the waiting list.
Oh, you're an angel, Dina. Thank you.
Absolutely. Happy to do it.
I have one comment that I'd like to add about a product that I absolutely adore. And
Hey, Neva,
yes.
if I can interject, there's we can come back to you, but there's
Sure.
people that let's get through the questions first.
Of course.
Somebody with the name that begins with the letter W. I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we hear.
Yeah, so yeah, this is Weber Emerald. So just a quick comment. I lost my vision age of 37, your guys are comments, and now I'm 38. So Braille is still a big challenge for me. I'm still learning, but I'll get there. At the beginning, I start. My goal is really only to operate an elevator, but the more I study, the more I start using, the better. The more comfortable I feel, and I really feel that Braille can help me in my daily life. I have a question and a comment. Not sure if it make those two now, but let me start with the question, and then if I have time to do a comment about one other device that I have here. My question is, if I'm getting that right, I mean, we have like displays, Braille displays, and also like some device that pretty much have storage and everything. My question for the displays, so, and if I'm get that right, I can have some note takers. I can take some notes on I'm not sure if there's an app or a software where I can take notes. And is there a way, or are there any device displays where I can choose if I want to display that like in a contract Braille, uncontract Braille, if I can display that in American English codes, or I don't know, Brazilian Portuguese code or German code. Is there something like that?
All of the Braille displays will probably give you those options. I would almost say all. That's pretty basic as far as being able to, choose your contractor, non-contracted, or grade 1, grade 2. And then if it's connected to, if you're using it in conjunction with a screen reader or what have you, then there's also settings within that screen reader, because the screen reader is basically, sending whatever information is on the PC to that Braille display in whatever you do. And in the HumanWare product, the Braille Note Touch, you can even go in and set up certain profiles, et cetera, as to where if you're just learning and you're just getting into contracted Braille, you can actually go in and set it up so that it will only show you certain symbols. So it can almost be your Braille teacher in that it will add in those tables, it will add certain Braille contractions, et cetera. And then when you see them on the display, if you can figure out based on context, what that word is, and actually kind of take a look at it and feel of it and go, okay, well, that's that's the word so-and-so. Well, then you can actually, just from exposure, have it also kind of teach you Braille, but feed it to you in smaller chunks. So HumanWare's done a good job with that.
And even different languages as well, different
Okay.
codes like for different countries.
Yes.
Okay, great.
And,
All
and
right.
if, can I ask you a question?
Yes,
What city do you live in?
Houston.
Houston. Okay. I was at a place yesterday, and a lady said, I've got a friend that lost his vision at 37 and he's 38 now. Can I give him your phone number? And I thought, wouldn't that be ironic if I'd already beat her to it? So, yeah. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Sailor Cooper has a question next.
Sailor?
I have a question for both about the pro displays and NLS. One, I have a brilliant VI40, the 2011. I would upgrade to the 40X, but it does cost quite a bit. But how much does the Braille Note Touch cost?
It's in the $6,000 price range.
It has 40 sales.
32 sales.
32. Oh, and the Focus 40s, they can work with NVDA as well, right?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. Also for NOS, I know I had to download at least one book per year to remain active on the service, which I haven't downloaded books in a while. I've mainly been using Audible, if anything.
Okay.
Would I have to like start over and fill out a new application if I want the Texas Talking books again, or what would I do?
Yeah, so if it's been longer than a year since you have downloaded or borrowed a book or a magazine, then you probably do have to fill out an application again. But you can call or email and see if you're still in our system. And if you are still in the system, then we can just reactivate you. So yeah, just give us a call or send us an email. You can either print off an application from our website, or we can send you an application if you're not in the system anymore.
And also, I do have a couple of my eye reports, like how recent does it have to be? Like,
Excuse me, Sailor. I think this is probably a better question to
Okay.
ask directly to NLS if you give them a call.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, all right. So next, Allison Barnes's hand is raised. Okay, so Allison, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Ma'am, a while back, why did they change grade 2 to grade 1 in books?
So, what's
Okay,
that
can you
question
repeat
again?
your
A while
question
back,
again?
why did they change grade 2 to grade 1 in books?
Okay, is that a question or is that a
Yes.
comment?
Yes, it is a question.
Okay, so can you repeat the question again?
Why did they change books from grade 2 to grade 1 Braille?
I
Is this
think
a talking book program question?
No, Braille.
just Braille in general, I think
Oh.
she's
Braille in
talking
general.
about.
There have been some scenarios where they have gone from producing books in grade 2 to going back to the basic level of just grade 1. But there are, there's some scenarios that I've heard of that out there, but I think that's primarily to try to meet the needs of younger students, maybe your first, second, third graders that
Right.
that are not into contracted Braille heavily yet or what have you. But I think that in a lot of those situations, you do have the option of exploring or requesting grade 2.
Okay.
Right. So we have another hand.
Yep,
Well,
I have another.
Go ahead.
We have another question or comment from Weber.
Well, if you have more people on the queue, you can go ahead, and I can wait.
Go ahead, Weber.
Okay. So no, yeah, I just want to mention about this. I got like this gift from my wife. It's like I'm not sure if you guys heard about this one. Is the Dot smartwatch. It is a Braille watch. Basically, it's a smartwatch, and it's been pretty cool playing with it. It's pretty nice. It has only 4 cells, Braille cells, and it's been pretty helpful to. I mean, I really wanted something like that, but I only found something that they're not like smart. And this one, as far as I understood, it's like something like new on the market. And just to mention that this is a pretty neat device. That it's called DOT, D-O-T, and I think it's not manufactured here in the US. I think it comes from South Korea, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a pretty neat one.
Thank you.
Okay, just real quick, Erica Pavone has a question, and I think in the interest of time, when you're asking your questions, if you can kind of try to get them to a 30-second, and that way we have enough time to get through the material and allow other people to have a chance to ask questions. So Erica, go ahead with your question.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Yes, actually, it's not a question. It's just a comment that I want to say thank you for all that information. In my own personal case, I lost my vision 3.5 years ago. And being an adult, all these programs or information that all of you provide us, it's really wonderful. I feeling every time I listen or hear people with a lot of experience, I feel like I am in pre-K. You already have a master on this, but I know step by step we can learn. I'm so happy that I am having a more knowledge with the alphabet, and that really have been helping me for my job, because I'm a salesperson, and before I didn't know how to do. I just was totally lost, and now I can label, and I know there's more, but I will continue. But thank you so much. So far, maybe later I will more interested in buying some materials or devices. God bless all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Very
you for
good.
your
Thank you, Erica.
kind words, Erica.
You're welcome.
All right, so that's all the questions now.
So we want to go back to Neva's comment. Throw her in front of the bus here.
Okay, well, I'll take that as a yes.
Go ahead, Neva.
So, along the lines of Weber's comments about the dot watch, which I'm dying to see. I wish we lived in the same town. I would really love to see it. I have a Braille label machine that I just adore. And I think it's important that people know about it, even though it's terribly expensive. It's called the Dot 6, and it's a little bit like the old-fashioned note takers that some of us remember from the 90s. It has a Braille keyboard, and it produces beautiful Braille on labeling tape. The neat thing about it is that because it's a Braille keyboard, you can use your own contractions, okay? Because some of us have our own little ways of contracting Braille because it makes sense to us for our own personal communication. But the other nice thing is that, and so that means, you know, your Braille labels can be shorter because you can put contractions that don't exist on that twisty turny Braille label maker. The other nice thing is you can plug in a little gizmo that allows a standard computer keyboard to be plugged into it. And then a sighted person can create Braille labels easily, even if they don't know Braille. Now that negates the ability of using contractions. But think about this for a parent who's trying to, you know, Braille label a house for their child so they know the difference between the peanut butter and the Nutella. And, you know, the things that teachers also need to do for kids around a classroom. But even for a family or an individual who can Braille their own labels, it just makes the most beautiful Braille. And if anybody's interested, I work for the American Foundation for the Blind. And if you would like a Braille label made and sent to you in an envelope so you can see what I'm talking about, I'm happy to do that. You just have to reach out to me at the American Foundation for the Blind, which is afb.org.
And the 6-dot label maker that she is referring to is made by a company called Logitech, and Crystal Vision represents them as well. So feel free to reach out to me if you want to. I have my hand on one right now sitting on my desk, and it's an awesome label maker, but it's you know, it's a little bit of an investment too. I think they're around $700 now. But
I know what I'm asking for Christmas.
but it is awesome that you just Braille into it and contracted Braille or whatever, and it and makes the label. So great deal. And while I'm running my mouth, I also forgot to tell you about a device that's called a new device that's we're just starting to represent, called the Able One, or I think I call it the Able One because it's HABLE. And I just think the H is silent, and then ONE, Able One. And it's a device about 3x5 that has 8 buttons on it. The six dots that make your Braille letters and contractions, and then key 7 and key 8 for performing various things. And this device is one of the few things that we sell that in the assistive technology world that has a 3-digit price point. It's $349. It's a controller for any smartphone, iPad, etc. It weighs a couple of ounces probably. The battery life on it, I've heard everything from 2 or 3 weeks to 2 months. All I can say is I've never seen it not work, and I don't charge it hardly ever. Every now and then I'll think, well, I need to plug it in just in case or whatever, but it literally never goes dead. And it's about 3/4 of an inch, maybe thick, maybe 3 inches from top to bottom, and maybe 5 inches wide. And you can just carry it in your pocket or purse, etc. It doesn't, it's not going to take the place of a Braille display if you're wanting to write or Braille and read. But just for carrying something around that lets you jump in and make your Facebook posts or type text messages or whatever, it is a very cool device, and it's the Able One.
Yeah, I could have used that label machine last week when I was making. I used about three rolls of labeling tape to make all the labels for the washers and dryers.
You would have loved it.
I would have.
Yeah.
It would have been neat. And while we're waiting for other.
Can you guys hear me?
They can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not the issue.
Okay.
So you won't be able to.
It's a skill for independence, and the fact that we have the ability to share the resources and the knowledge and insight. And I'm going to share this. Before we started the workshop today, we were having a conversation amongst ourselves here, and I referred to one of our panelists as the authority, and now he was humble and said, well, I'm not the authority, but I'm going to say this. I want to say thank you for all three of our panelists, because they all bring authority to what we're speaking about today. I'm not interrupting your presentation. If you have more to share, I want you to do that. I've been blind for 29 years, and I've been taking notes because I've been learning things here today as well from each one of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron. And I just want to say, if anybody does start teaching Braille classes, I mean, one of the things that I do with the Reference Center is, compile information that I can provide to people who call and need information. And so, for example, one of the things I've been doing is trying to have a list of people who are technology trainers, and Raul and Stacy are on my list, because a lot of times people are given a piece of technology, but they're not taught how to use it or shown how to use it. And so that's where technology trainers come in. So if, Hadley is a great resource for people who are not student age to learn Braille, but it's a correspondence class or correspondence classes. So if people are starting to set up local classes, that would be a great resource. And I would love to know about any, if and when they do get started.
We'll make
Thank
sure
you,
we
Dina.
let you know.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for as a resource. So we can, well, I can put TBP on our resource list.
Absolutely.
Great, great.
Karen has a question.
As a comment, really, I want to just add to the seminar. I'm going to take it back to the recipes. I have made a point of it as a blind person. We all know that
Karen, I think you muted yourself when you lowered your hand.
okay.
There you are.
There we go.
Okay. Wanted to let you know that I like using transparency for recipes because we all know that regular Braille paper is made out of wood, which doesn't handle water well or getting dirty well. But transparency, you can use that in the kitchen and not worry about getting food stuff on it while you're cooking. And then when you're done, just rinse it off and dry it off and put it back in the notebook for the next time you use the recipe again. And also, I'm going to ask Dina to add me to the list for the Braille e-reader.
You got it, Karen. I'll add you to the list.
Okay, do you have my last name?
I do. EITEL, right?
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, so that's about all y'all get out of me this whole session. Thanks. I'm going back to mute.
Thank you, Karen.
This is Stacy with a comment.
Mhm.
So I've been a user of Braille. Gosh, I started learning Braille when I was in preschool, and I became fully immersed in it, thank goodness, in second grade. It was at one time when I was, in the kindergarten and first and early part of second grade, I was a dual media student, and thank goodness my teachers were wise and realized that using a CCTV with letters blown up to where you can only see one or two letters of a word was just not going to be an efficient means for me. And so I fully became a Braille student, and Braille is my world. I use it daily in work. I use it in my personal life. And if you're on here and you are, you're wanting to learn Braille, it's something that does take time and patience, but it is definitely a tool for anyone that has some limited vision. I think if you have a means to identify things and have a way of accessing information in your environment that's not a struggle, it can really be the difference between being completely independent versus needing to frequently ask for assistance, which is not a bad thing. But I think about people who don't have an established means for accessing information, and they always have to ask someone sighted to give them their bank card information, or have a sighted person give you this or give you that. If you learn the first 10 letters of the alphabet, A through J, you can really do a lot with that, and it will help you. You can just build on that. You can start working on reading short, very short books. And most people who start learning Braille, they'll start out learning how to read children's books. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's a great way to increase your reading speed. And so that's what I want to say. I think Braille is a fabulous thing, and I sing its praises every day.
And
If it
I'll
would-
say amen to that.
If it would be okay, I'd like to share contact information if would that be okay?
Absolutely.
All right. So anybody that would like to see me in Houston, week after next, anybody who wants to call and ask more questions about any of the products I've talked about today, you can reach me at Bobby, BOBBY, at crystal-vision.com. or hyphen vision, crystal-vision.com. And crystal is the word Christ with an AL at the end. So CHRISTAL, crystal-vision.com. My phone number is 469-360-1143, 469-360-1143. And I've mentioned that most of the manufacturers have gone up, 5 or so percent, 5 or 6% in the last few months or what have you, as a result of the fact that you participated in this presentation today, et cetera. During the month of November, if you call me, I'll take that inflation away. I'll give anybody that calls about a product a 5% discount on any of the products that I've mentioned today. So, it's as high as $300 off the Braille Note Touch or $18 off of the Able One. So pretty big range there, but hopefully that might help somebody.
Neva
$18
has her
is
hand
$18.
raised.
Who that?
Neva Fairchild.
All right.
Stacy, thank you for sharing your Braille story. I just wanted to share mine real quick because it's the other end of the spectrum. I wish I had learned when I was a kid. But when I was a brand new VR counselor for the state of Texas, I realized I could not read my file folder labels that were those nice big jumbo large print labels, white letters on black background, because I couldn't get my nose close enough to the bottom drawer and the ones at the very back of the drawer, that kind of thing. And I learned my Braille characters with the help of Bobby Lakey and started into the contracted form and got partway through those contractions. And then I got strong enough to, figure out what the sentence was saying. And I've never built up any speed, but I didn't do this until I was in my 40s. And Braille is still one of the most important tools in my toolbox. So I don't care how old you are, if you can't see to read print, you need Braille. And just what Bobby said a few minutes ago with his phone number, if you knew the first 10 digits of the Braille code, you could have written down that phone number on your own, and you could have read it later anytime you needed to without any trouble. And if you learn just 3 more characters, you can play cards. It's only 13 characters in order to play cards. And that's a good social activity. And then if you're intrigued and you're good at it and it's fun, then it's only doubling those 13 characters to read uncontracted Braille, and you're off and running. And I'm just telling you, reading in the dark is fun.
And that's why I learned Braille, because when they turned the lights off in our dorm, I could continue reading. But I've read Braille in school for most of my subjects, and took math in print. So I had the best of both worlds. And so if anybody in the Houston area who would like to learn more about Braille, they can contact me. Ron has my contact information. Contact me, and I'll be more than happy to, sit down, talk with you. We can do whatever it is you want to know about learning more about Braille and learning Braille itself. So I'll be a resource.
All right. And that's 2 of you. Dina, what's the best way if someone needs to get in touch with you? Call the Talking Book Library,
Yes.
the Talking Book program.
Yes, you can reach me through the Talking Book program. We have a call center staff. Our toll-free number, which only works in Texas, is 1-800-252-9605. And if you have an out-of-state phone, you can reach us locally at 512-463-5458. And also our email is tbp.services@tsl.texas spelled out .gov. But like I said, I'll send this information to Ron so that he can include it in the follow-up email. And You can reach me through the Talking Book program phone number or email. They'll forward the information to me. And one of the other things that I do, just if anybody's interested, is I can provide resources for, you know, a lot of sighted children are very interested in Braille. So if you know of a class or a school that's interested in doing a lesson on Braille, we can provide Braille alphabet cards. I believe we still have some Braille rulers. I have some old Braille calendars. A lot of times if a teacher is teaching something about Braille, they might use the calendar as like a prize. Children are very, very interested in Braille. And I can also send out catalogs where they can learn about all of the things that are available for people who have low vision. Also, we have like worksheets where they can learn how to write their name in Braille, Braille trivia, things like that.
See, there are all kinds of things in Braille. And you mentioned a Braille ruler, Dina. I have a Braille measuring tape.
Oh, great.
That I use to, I had to figure out the height and width of my refrigerator. And so I use my Braille measuring
Excellent.
tape to figure all that out. So there are all kinds of uses that come in handy with Braille.
Absolutely.
And Neva mentioned picking up speed, you know, and yes, I admire people who can read Braille fluently with speed, but you know, I focus on the fact that I just want to be able to read it. And I may not be the fastest Braille reader, but if I didn't have access to it, I'd be lost. So, so don't worry about the speed. If you can pick up speed, that's great. But I just enjoy being able to read it for itself, because I'm in tune with the rest of the world. So, Stacy, if are there any more hands? If not, I'll turn it back to Ron.
Let me check.
I don't
think
believe so. Gosh, I just want to say thank you all for everything you've shared today. Just a wealth of information. And this is recorded. This will be posted to our YouTube channel. If there's something anybody here wants to go back for, or if you want to share it with someone who didn't make it today. And for contacting me, anyone who's watching this on YouTube, if you're wanting more information about any of these resources, you can contact me through the HAVIN email address. That's havin.tx@gmail.com. And we will definitely share their contact information or let you know what we know. And read more Braille. When we were discussing a workshop, and you know, Michael gave credit to Karen Itel for being the catalyst for this. That's all she said was, Michael Garrett, that's his mantra, read more Braille. So when I was speaking to Michael about presenting this workshop, he says, yep, that's a great title for this. So it's an effort to promote the learning and use of Braille. So let's read more Braille. I do want to say this is a HAVIN Zoom workshop, and as usual, we do have a door prize, and I think we're down to just a few people here now. 4. So
all right.
And
So
Stacy,
I have a name.
okay, let's do this.
Yep. So it is Neva Fairchild.
Hey, Neva,
Yay.
you have won a $25 Amazon gift card. And
Oh, wow.
so
Congratulations.
Oh, well, I know
Congratulations, Neva.
exactly what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to buy yarn and knit hats for a program called Hat Not Hate. It's an anti-bullying program in the schools, K through 12.
awesome.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And Neva, I did read your comment on your registration. I'll be in touch with you on that as well.
Super. I'd love to do it for you.
Speaking of knitting.
And Neva, that card comes with a free lunch too, if you want to reach out.
Oh, well.
So you are the big winner today.
I feel so lucky. Thank you.
So, well, I thank you all for being here today, and we are working on planning the next workshop, and we will be sharing that information as the plans come together. We will also be working on the plans for our Inside Expo, which will be back in person this coming spring once again. So stay tuned. There's a lot coming from HAVIN. We do have an office space now. We're open 2 days a week at the Metropolitan Multi-Service Center. We're open Tuesday mornings, 9:30 till noon, and Thursday from 10 till 4. We'll be doing more. We'll be planning classes there at the MMSC. So you'll be hearing more and more as we evolve there. So thank you all for everything you've done today. To our panel, thank you, kudos, props, respect. Great appreciation from all of us here at HAVIN. And Stacy, anything else you'd like to say?
No, hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend, and look forward to seeing some of you next weekend at our NFB of Texas State Convention. And again, thank you to our panelists for giving part of your weekend with us today.
And I am thankful the Texas. Thank you, Bobby. I'm also thankful the Texas Longhorns weren't playing at 11 o'clock this morning. Because
Yeah, that's right.
I'm equally grateful that the Astros are playing tonight and the Patriots are not playing today. So
go
Astros.
And this shows how much I love you. I am missing the Aggie game.
Oh.
Thank you, Neva. It's win-win.
Go Aggies.